morning and welcome back to the Monday edition of Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, along with her ever-loyal servitors, Justin and John. How are you all today? Kiki has been given a new bully stick and has disapparated, so 48 degrees, that's nice. M. Fontana with the 40-month resub, thank you so much. Cold and wet day in Long Island. That's good days for, like, you know, painting and writing and knitting and doing things like that. Inging. Cooking and baking. That's other good things. Hey, Keek! You want to come say hi? Oh, show everybody your bully stick. Yep, there it is. Did you see it in her mouth? Yeah, good girl. Go settle down now. Go settle in, Chew. She's actually being a really good girl today, so. Oh, no, she dropped it. You got a brief Kiki sighting. Yeah, baking, I always thought cloudy, crappy days were great for baking. Oh, yeah, no joke, right? Spreadsheets and QuickBooks. Yeah, we've got to start on our taxes, but I won't get my info till the end of the month likely, so. Well, we just had a Kiki sighting, Frederick. You missed it. She has a new bully stick, so she made a very, very short appearance with the bully stick in her mouth, and now she's going to chew it. Yeah, just in time for the pupper shot, right? Yes, it was a very quick Kiki visitation. She decided that she would rather, like, chew her brand new bully stick than jump on me and chew my ears, so. Yeah. All right, we're back to Old Spice Genie. That's totally what he is in my brain now. I can't unsee it. I cannot unsee the Old Spice Genie. So that's going to be it. It's just going to be what he is. Totally. I've got that vibe. So yeah, so we'll continue doing this dude. And I kind of feel like maybe working on the sword today. I kind of feel like it. I feel like, oh, and I got some coral on his hair too. I'll have to fix that. That's all right. All right. Yeah, I at least want to block in the sword and block in light and shadow. It's a very interesting blade because it's got those cutouts on it. So there are some different, like, highlight and shadow things that you would probably do on it. So yeah, let's do it. I feel like it. I feel it. Let's rock it. So as usual, I want to mix a little bit of some other color into the sword. Usually I do blue, but I'm looking at this right now. I'm just going to, yeah, blue does make sense. It's like you've got a little touch of blue ribbon on his hat. You've got blue on the bracer here, but we could put it, and it won't show up, right? And when you put that touch of blue or another color into the NMM, the point is not that you should be able to see it. The point is just that your subconscious mind is going to pick it up and keep it from looking like it's totally a pencil drawing, right? Because if you do flat NMM that's just in gray, black, and white, it tends to look unnatural or it sticks out somehow. It doesn't look right, and that's why. So, yeah, so let's get our tropical blue. If I can find it over here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. And, pardon me, it's like very sniffly day, so I'm going to blow my nose real quick here. Tell my sinuses to stop draining here. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yay. So there we go. So I have a very hectic end of the month in front of me. Very, very hectic. Much more hectic than planned. Because it had suddenly landed on me, probably Friday evening or Saturday morning, that in order to finish my book covers, and I should have known this, right? I should have known this, but when you've never done it before, you don't. But in order to finish the print versions of the book covers for the paperbacks and hardcovers, my cover artist is going to have an exact page count. What does this mean? This means that edit on book 2 that I totally dropped, because I was like, oh, well, I need to, just get book 1 ready, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, I need to get book 2 ready. I have 10 days to finish at least a more or less, because I was doing a rewrite on the back end, guys. It wasn't just a straight up editing. It was a lot. And yeah, so now I'm like, oh, crap. So I have to essentially... I warned David. I'm just like, for the next 7 days, I'm not going to be available in the evenings. Yeah, yep. And you know what, Big Chimpo? The dangable thing is, I try never to put myself under that kind of deadline, right? Because it's stressful, and it interferes with my sleep, and it interferes with everything else, right? Totally stresses me out, and I'm an unhappy Ann. But I do pull the dangest things out of my butt if I have a deadline like that. So we'll see. I don't expect to finish it. I will be happy to get at least kind of a working form, and then I'll probably throw some padding on the end. Because if there's like 10 extra pages, like I could always throw that in, throw a preview to the next book in there, right? Things like that. So I think, yeah. So I think, hi Kiki. Kiki with her bully stick. She's like, I want to chew on this on you, Mom. She wants to lie on my foot and chew her new bully stick. So yeah, I totally didn't think of that, guys. How could I not have thought that you would need, of course you would need, an exact page count in order to make the spine the appropriate width. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have actually time or funds to pay somebody to do a map right now or to do it myself, Pendrake. And it's weird. Like, my world is not really like a map type fantasy world because it's fairy tales, right? So you kind of go sideways into a world of magic. And that world does not have set boundaries. Like, things shift, things move, things are not always the same. And generally they are, but it would be a very general map. Like, you'd have to leave a lot of kind of open wiggle space. Like, there would be like bands of space that just tended to, kind of shift a little every once in a while. And the boundaries, what the creatures of the Brightlands call the boundaries, are usually just natural features, like a river or a mountain range. And sometimes you don't always pass from like one zone to the next predictably. So yeah, it's a very it feels fairy tale. It feels like, it's unpredictable. And although magic does have rules, the rules are definitely, they allow for magic to have a fair bit of wiggle room. Yes, and we will not do that, Crowley. We will not do that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that either, Cranston. Like, I can always I actually have the first chapter of the third book, more or less. Like, I could throw that in there, or I could, I'm definitely doing author's notes at the end of each book just to talk about sources and stuff like that. Because I always loved it when authors did that. I love it when authors put an author's note to the reader. Just kind of giving a little insight into the process or any interesting stuff, So I definitely want to do that. So, I know that if I leave myself a little bit of a buffer, there will be stuff to fill it. I write long anyway, so I'm not if I had to describe my prose, it would not be quick, short, intense. It would be, rich, descriptive, things like that. It's not that there's not action. There's definitely action, but I don't write that quick, snappy style. I write more that epic feel, epic prose style, for sure. That's because that's always what I loved when I was a kid. And so as I became a writer, that's just what I internalized. Like, that's what my voice became. I thought about leaving this page blank page. Why there's an author's note here, quote unquote. I could totally put that in there. That would be funny. I'm sure my readers would think it was funny. But yeah. So it's funny. I just ran into I get a Quora digest, and mostly my Quora is about like publishing and self-publishing. And I actually stumbled on a thread this morning that was in my digest that was Mercedes Lackey actually had made a post about self-publishing and why a lot of self-published books are really just like novice books, right? And actually somebody had come back and responded to her, who is actually a self-published, or I should say indie-published, USA Today best-selling romance writer, came back and essentially said, here's the case for independent publishing, how you can make a success of it, but it takes a lot of work, blah, 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 and here's what I do. And Mercedes Lackey actually came back at the end of that poster's post and said, this is a great post. And it is absolutely spot on. So that was really cool because I read her books when I was, younger, into college, actually. And it's neat that she's not only on Quora, but that she's on Quora helping new writers. Like, I had no idea. That's really cool. So, I need a paintbrush. Where's my paintbrush? I want a bigger, slightly bigger paintbrush. Where's my Reaper? Reaper, there you are. But yeah, so that was cool. Oh, and I have, do you guys want to see book covers? Do you want to see mock-ups? Because I happen to have. I happen to have. We'll derail the stream slightly before I base code. Derail slightly. Where am I? Here I am. All right, let me see here. Okay, all right. So, and you're going to get to see the first look at book 2, by the way, which is way in advance. Way in advance, but you get to see it. 1 second. So this is all just Photoshop. Again, this is just Photoshop thrown together. She has not painted any of it yet. So it gets digital painting over the top. Okay, Kay? So this is my first one. And then I actually have a thing on book 2 here. Book 2. And there's the little fox. I love the fox. He's a good character. There we go. Sorry. Thanks, Ringbolt. I have to look at you. Ringbolt. Yes. Sorry, Ringbolt. I actually write too, and I'm about to I'm working on my my book covers right now, and so I had to share. They're young adult fantasy, fairy tale fantasy, and I think that they rock. So yeah, I'm very happy, and once she paints them, they'll look even better. So those are the 2 main characters. Those are the 2 sisters that the books are about. There's a 3rd main character who is a young man who is also gets a great arc. He's probably not going to get a cover until book 4, though. You are not a bot. You are a bolt. Got it. Sorry, I have reading glasses on, and so when I try to see names, I have to go, whoa, wait. My apologies. You are not a bot. But yeah, we're gonna block in the NMM on the sword today, Wrinkle. So, and this is one of 6 models that we work on. I have a 6 model rotation on this. I'm on every day on Reaper's Twitch, on every weekday, I should say. And we do a 6 model rotation, and then we loop back around so that, every day we're working on something a little bit different, and there's always a bit of variety, and you're not stuck working on one model until it's done, which would take a while because I'm a slow painter. Just had to add a little drop off. Yeah, I like my covers, and they'll look even better when she paints them. I gotta say, guys, if I had gotten an agent to pick me up, if one of the agents that was really interested in me had picked me up, I would never get to do this. Traditional authors don't get any input into their book covers. Almost all, I would say. I would say it would be a weird world. I just don't know of any traditionally published author who is you get kind of to look at it after it's done, and if you really hate it, you can say so, and maybe they'll change it, but maybe they won't. So please check box to prove humanity. Declare it. So yeah, it's really cool that I get to do this. I gotta say, this is the most fun ever. And being an artist myself, to be able to work with a pro artist who can do stuff that I can't do, and to try to help her understand what kind of vision I kind of wanted for the front of the books, and what kind of feel, what kind of mood. She's really responsive, and she's really doing a great job, and it's just been so fun on my end. It's so exciting. With when you have book covers, then it's real, folks. Then it's real. You're oh my gosh. Yeah, we're gonna block in the sword NMM today. Agent Marvel, you just missed my book covers. Maybe I'll show them again toward the end. Or at least they're not finished, but the latest mock-up. The latest mock-up that she is now in the process of painting. Of course, she's in the UK and I am on the west coast of the USA, so there's time lag, and she emailed me twice last night, and today got back. I'm no, go ahead with them. I'm sorry, I'm way out here. I'm hours and hours and hours behind you. Yeah, random user. That is my husband. That's David. He has no problem focusing on minis, right here. But ask him to read this, and he'd have to put his glasses on to read it. You missed book covers, Red Links. Don't worry, Red Links. I can go and show them again in a bit. I just want to get this stuff blocked in. But yeah, I'm very happy with the artist I picked. I love the mood she's got going on. I adore the font. Oh my gosh, I adore it. It's perfect. So yeah, she's good. Happy. Let me see. I need a shadow. And usually what I like to use for shadow is gray liner. Gray liner is a nice shadow for a big thing. Because it has some transparency to it, you're not fighting the coverage to make it blend in. Generally, translucent paints are easier to blend, guys. Just so you know. I'm getting there we go. I have stuff in there. Got to get centered on my thing again. There I am. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be showing more. Once she starts the painting process, she's going to like block it in, and at the end she is going to put a black line around a lot of the bear and fox and the girls to make it fit in with kind of the fairy tale feel of the rest of the cover, the stylized background. So we'll see how we like that. It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. I'm so happy. Yeah, but oh my gosh, yes, Red Links. I just found out I'm under a serious deadline with the second book's editing, and I have to my tail is on fire now because I didn't realize I had to have the number of pages for her to do the spine for the paperback. So now I had put it down. I had dropped my rewrite because I was like, oh, I just need to get book one really needs to get there because book one, and I'm going to have cover. Now I'm like, oh no, book two, oh no, because I have to at least have a decent page count that I can wiggle to. Good morning, Inara. So yeah, so that means I'm going to be going like my tail is on fire for about 10 days, which is insane stuff. And of course, if dropped in the middle of all this is some family stuff. You know, like David's dad coming to town to deal with some medical stuff for his sister, and like us having to, you know, then that'll take an entire, you know, chunk of time out. It always happens. Whenever you have something super important you have to do, the world is like, oh, by the way. So yeah, so we've got some gray liner, and I'm going to put some of this mix of cloudy gray and tropical blue. I ended up with 5 drops of cloudy gray and 1 kind of smallish drop of tropical blue. I cut it off a little bit early from a full drop just because the tropical was shifting the cloudy gray a lot and I didn't want it to really take over. So I'm going to take a big brush full of this and put it into my gray liner because all I need is a near black. It can be a little bit lighter as long as the contrast is there for NMM. So this is still dark enough. It's kind of a charcoal now. But what I've done is not only put in some of the base color, so these will blend a little bit better, but some of the blue that's in here is now in there as well. So I'll avoid that weird monochrome kind of look. And I'm going to load more water into this because this needs to be pretty thin. And if you are using pure black or any derivative of black that Reaper does instead of the gray liner, you're going to have to thin a lot. Yeah, last couple weeks, insane. Yep. I mean, and then Kiki, you know, Kiki had her heart monitor. Oh, we got the results today, guys. We got the results this morning. Kiki is completely clear. No irregular beats at all. 0, 0, 0 down the line. So that's great. She has a really healthy heart. Yeah. In fact, every single one of her siblings came back all zeros as well, which I don't think has ever happened. Because it's usual for large breed puppies to throw an irregular beat or two because it's just growing pains. It's like just, your heart skips a beat every once in a while. So I would be okay if any, up to 5 or so irregular beats. Even 10 is considered normal for a growing large breed puppy. But I'm so happy that we actually have all zeros. And one dog was actually holtered for I think 72 hours. And then there were several at 48 and then a couple, Kiki included, at 24. So 24 hours being the minimum. So I feel pretty confident that my 24 is actually solid. So yeah, all of these, and these puppies, of course, are important because they're the second generation from our outcross. So the puppies that these dogs produce will technically be usable with, almost any dog in the gene pool, and they're going to help our diversity so much. So it's exciting. Not completely Shadow Raven. Okay, so this is just the first test. Technically second test, because the heart auscultation, which is just the vet, you know, giving the heart a good listen to make sure there's no murmurs, that was first. But now the next testing I need to do is we will need to do a surf eye test, because Poodle Wetterhound has things like PRA, progressive retinal atrophy. So I'll have to do one of those. Probably I'll do one of those at like 2 years, because I don't intend to breed her until after she's 2. Maybe even until she's 3. If she passes everything. But we also need to pass hip and elbow x-rays for the entire litter. Yes, perfect pupper party time. So yeah, we require a lot of testing, Shadow Raven. For a dog to breed, a lot of testing. And then there's optional testing that some breeders will also do. But a lot of the optional stuff I don't believe in necessarily. Like some breeders will do a TLI, which essentially is pancreatic activity to test for EPI. But the thing is, it doesn't tell you your dog is a carrier, and it doesn't actually tell you if your dog is affected unless they are affected right when you do the test. So it's like, it's something that you would really only do if your dog was showing symptoms of having EPI. And then you do the TLI to detect it, right? So I don't understand like why breeders, unless they just think it, you know, peace of mind, but I don't know. So there are some tests that we don't mandate, but pancreatitis. Oh, that's so hard. Yeah, and there I brought up a pancreatitis. We see pancreatitis in our breed as well, but it's rare. I've only known of one dog. Well, we just like to know what we're dealing with. I mean, can you just throw 2 dogs together and get lucky? Sure you can. People do it all the time. But we just believe that testing gives us a better view of what you're actually breeding. Because if we didn't do these, I bet. And I had to pill one of Katie's cats when I was living with her after the divorce, and oh my gosh, getting pills to out cancer Katie was something. It was like, there were times I had to do it like 12 times. Like, had 12 tries, because I was doing it alone since Katie was out of town. Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, the thing about it is, if you don't have that testing on all the puppies of the litter, then if there's something there, you don't know. And if there's something there and you're like, you think that you're fine, so you breed to a dog that maybe is a little riskier in that department, you could have a real bad experience then with those puppies, right? So, especially with stuff like this arrhythmia and hip dysplasia. Those are the big 2 that you really, and elbow dysplasia technically, although that's really rare in our breed. But if you know that it's in the litter, then you can take steps to choose a mate for your dog that is very low risk for it. But if you don't know that it's in the litter, you might just choose a dog that seems to suit your dog, not knowing that your dog has actually a higher risk and that dog has a higher risk. So it's all just, we try to stack the deck. I guess that's what it is. Health testing is just stacking the deck. It doesn't guarantee that you never produce a problem. It only gives you a better chance to have clear and healthy puppies. And we like that, so. Yeah, background floof, here she is. Hi, background floof. Do you want to come up and say hi? Kiki. Hey, come here. Papa. Hey, get out of there. Come here. Back up. Kiki. Papa. Good girl. Ah! Genie thrown across the desk. Kiki says, hi, everybody. I have a perfect heart. Yep, I do. And I'm a big floof. You are a big floof. Okay. Can you go chew your bone now? Yes, good girl. Okay. Off. Good girl. No. That's it. No. We have definite parameters. I'm going to need to, hold on, guys. I need to actually put up a gate. No, you cannot come here and eat my paint. I'm going to get a gate. Oh, no, there's a gate. Yeah, now there's a gate. Wah. There's a gate. Yeah, you cannot eat my paint. Good girl. Genie survived. He's plastic. Genie went on a vacation. Yep. Oh, good, Agent Marble. She is, she's huge, and she's a doof. Hi, doof. How are you, baby girl? No teeths. Kiki, no teeths. Yep, go settle, girly. You know the word settle. She is learning it, actually. Papa, Thank you, good girl. No bites. She wants to play is the problem. Go settle, Papa. Yeah, exactly. You never plan on breeding her. Whereas Kiki, I took her to help the gene pool. Because Kiri had 2 litters, and so for me, I'm just like, well, I've done it before. I can do it another time to help breeders in our breed. So I don't plan on like being like a big capital B breeder, but I will probably have 1 or maybe 2, depending on how my back weathers it, litters of puppies with Kiki if she passes all of her testing. And we'll try to put those in homes with breeders so that the genes move forward and can help the gene pool. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we have that in Shiloh's. It's not like real common, but we do have it. We definitely test for it. There's a lot of things in Shiloh's that are not too common, and then there are like 3 disorders that we see more commonly. And those are the ones, that's the reason we're outcrossing. That's why Kiki has Poodle Wetterhound behind her, and why we have a group of puppies that have Belgian Tervuren behind them. So we're trying to get away from those big 3. And this should give us a little bit better breathing room. But yeah, it's been interesting. All right, now I'm going to get some pure white. So then I'm going to show you guys my colors. So we're going to just put this in as just like blocking it in. We're not going to blend it right away. You can, if you want to, you can wet blend these transitions like right away if you want to. Often I do. But I'm going to lay it out today just as a block so that, hi, go saddle Keeks. Go chew your bully. Go chew your bully. Gonna hang out with me? Oh, you've got your bully with you. Good girl. She's just lying on the floor over there, watching me stream, being a good girl. Today, I swear, she seems like a good girl today. She seems like gooder. She seems like she grew another adult brain cell or 2 overnight. But it's not cold enough in here for her. That's the thing. If I had the window open. Hey, Roger, thank you for the resub. 29 months. Sweet, and a 28-month streak. Yeah, breeding is like really rewarding, Shadow Raven, and also really heartbreaking. How big do I think she'll get? I think that she's going to top out between 75 and 80. Oh, no, I don't think she's not going to get 115. I think our dogs tend to grow very quickly up to 6-7 months, but then they slow down a lot. Pendrake, I think that she's got kind of Kiri's build, like she's got a good medium build on her. She's not real heavy boned. And she's maybe a little over 24 inches at the shoulder right now. I am going to guess that she's going to get 26 to 27 inches. If she hits 27, I'll be like over the moon. And I'm guessing she's going to be, I'm going to say 70 to 80, probably 75 to 80. Probably just like Kiri, actually. Yeah. Yeah, but that's my guess, Redlings. And that's about like females in our breed. 80 pounds is a very standard weight. Like some of the really lightly built dogs, you'll see 65 to 75 instead. Like there's some very tall but very thinly built Shilohs girls that are less. But in general, Shiloh Shepherd girl kind of plan on being around 70 to 80. And some girls go 90 to 100, and some are even more like her grandma, Phelan. Phelan was like 110, 120 pound dog. She was immense. So some of them do get that way. All right, so first let's look at we're going to do an NMM lesson today, guys. Ooh, all right. So the sword is pretty much has 3 faces, right? It's got this upper face, like it cuts that way. Then it's got a flat up and down face, and it's got a face that cuts away from the light toward the underside, right? So we've got this upper face, and we've got the inscribed part is a flat face. And then the bottom part here is a pointing down, right? So you can use this like this. There are a lot of swords like this, except obviously they're not as fancy or weird and cut out as this one. But we're using the same freaking rules. Even though this is a really weird sword, you paint it just like any other NMM sword. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Whenever you're raising living things, you put so much of yourself into them. You put so much time, energy, money, everything into them, and a lot of your heart right? Because you see the babies grow up from just being like little pods that drop out to like, you know, actual living, breathing personality beings. And that's what makes it like really rewarding. And as a dog breeder, it's super rewarding when one of your pups finds the perfect home and the family just loves them to death, and, you know, and they get a great life, right? That's right there is what I love. But it also can be like you could lose a puppy when you can have stillborn. You can, you know, lose a puppy early. You can lose a puppy at 3 or 4 months just because of Bridget, one of Kiki's siblings, passed away from a birth defect that we couldn't see at 8 weeks, but as she grew, it became evident. So yeah, you put so much, and not everything works out perfect. Like, you really have to have the ability to focus on the positive. Like, otherwise, you're just going to stop. Like you say, you're just going to stop breeding. You're just never going to continue. So, like, you have to, if you have a bad experience, it's like, well, but I still have 6 beautiful puppies that have people that love them that are doing great, right? So it is the nature. It really puts you face to face with life and death in a very early manner, even more so than just owning a pet, which of course does it anyway. But yeah. Okay, so we've got these colors, and this is actually, it's floated a bit because I've thinned it so much, but that's a gray liner. Gray liner plus a little bit of my mid-tone. So that's cloudy gray, 5 drops with 1 drop of tropical blue, and then a brush full of that into 4 drops of gray liner. Then I took 2 brushfuls of this over, and I grabbed a couple drops of white and popped them in to make my light gray. And then I've got my pure white. So I could do more steps. If you wanted to make it easier to blend, you could definitely mix more transitions, and then you would not have to work as hard at the blending. But what we're going to do, and of course, raising your puppies for 8 weeks is also a lot of work. Not so much for the first 2 where the mom is taking care of them. You're more taking care of the mom at that point. But it's a crap ton of work once they start like pooping on their own and you have to clean the pen like 5-6 times a day. Like it's yeah, it's a lot of work, guys. A lot of hard on your back work. So I'm going to see how I go. But all right, so the side that is facing the light, you guys can see, you know, the side that's facing up. We're just going to paint that all a lighter gray. So we're going to take our light gray. We're not going to take our white. We're just going to take our lighter gray. And we're going to paint that area. Kiki, do not dig at my carpet, young lady. If you are a dingo, I'm going to expel you and put you behind the gate. All right, and this is kind of weird because it goes from angled here to kind of like, if there's, you got to cut it off there. It goes from angled to flat, like really kind of gently here, so it's hard to see. We're going to paint all that light because that is all going to be reflected in light. The only areas that are going to be dark on this upside are these little cutouts. You can even see that there's a shadow there, right? I painted this light gray, but you can see there's a shadow. So we're definitely going to block in shadow there. I'm going to grab shadow and shadow. And I will grab a little bit of my mid-tone and blend those in a little bit so they're not quite as dark. So your shadows on your top surface will not be as dark as the ones on your lower surface, and the highlights on your lowest surface will not be as bright as the ones on your top surface. Then we're going to pop in a little bit of light and shadow here. I'm going to just put this, I think I want it, no, actually I think I want it there. I'll redo that a bit. So a lot of painters do this sort of bands of light and shadow, and you want to make them a little bit irregular. So right now they're a little bit too regular, so I'm actually going to block out that one. I don't want it. I want a little space here. And you want some of them to be more narrow and some to be wider. What the bands of light and shadow are trying to tell you visually are that there are objects around this model that are interrupting the light. No, you do want to do white in places, but those are selected. We'll show you, Agent Marvel. Although if you go and check out, I don't know if you're on my Patreon, but if you are, when I did that basics of NMM, I think it was $2 tier last time, I talk about like you want to put a white edge around everything, but then you choose your battles. Yeah, and this is a little more advanced that we're doing here with the light and shadow play. Usually you don't start with this, but I want to get some of this. So I'm kind of blending this in. I'm taking some of my midtone and blending in the edges. The midtone is a little thinned down, so I can make it like that. I'm going to probably have to go a little bit darker, but we'll see. Maybe not. Because these aren't like truly like, these are just interruption shadows, so they don't have to be as dark as your contrast shadow. So the shadow that you actually have to do, and you have to do it fairly dark, is the shadow right under the highlight where you cut away from the light. So if all of this blade up here is getting hit with light, right under it at the edge is where you're going to put a shadow. So here it kind of coincides with this cutout, right? But I want to get a dark shadow underneath that area. And this blade is going to be a little quirky because its flat part, it has all this texture on it. So we won't be able to necessarily do it quite as cleanly as another blade, but I'm going to do that shadow, shadow. We got to get the shadow on here. So we got to put it right under there, right under our edge, right where your edge changes. So if this was just a two-facet blade where there was this and this, like a diamond-shaped blade, then you'd have it like right where the blade kind of cut away. And in fact, we will do that still down here. We'll have kind of a secondary. When you've got a blade with three faces, an upward face, a downward face, and a middle flat face, you kind of do this twice. So you put a shadow down right where the flat part cuts away as well. So here on the tip, there's only two, like there's no flat face. So this is more pure. So right under, essentially we've got this, we're gonna have a hard highlight there, and then we put a shadow right under it. And essentially to remember like where the shadow goes, you kind of have to think about the way that if this was a mirror, like the light is bouncing, flat off of this face, but then as the face of this blade turns and you get this little curve, right? At some point, the light is going to bounce down and it's going to be at the right angle to flash right toward your eyes. And that is your white highlight. So that's why the white highlight goes on that edge and then the dark shadow goes right under it. And here on these little guys, it's going to be a little weird with the flats. So I'm going to just block in a shadow quick. I'm going to leave a little room because the flats are going to pick up a little bit of light on the upper edge there. I'm leaving that in. So we don't get to take our shadow and carry it down as much as I would have because of the patterns on this blade. So, and I do tend to do this. I do tend to block in shadow, midtone, and then do the white, come back and do the light. So I'm taking kind of mixing a little bit of my midtone into my shadow, and I am bringing in a very dark line here. And you need the line, you don't need the line to be black, but you need it to be dark enough that it looks really dark next to that white highlight that we're going to bring in. So we're going to bring a white highlight in along all of these facets, just like we were painting gemstones. You paint gemstones the same way, with the facets, specifically with the white line around all the facets. You do that. If you're doing stylized NMM like this, you do that here too. Hello, Snibble Spliff. Okay, yeah, no problem, Major Marble. Yeah, those are easy. Studs and chains, easy stuff. All right, so now we've got kind of a speckled, like a light and dark effect here. We've got blocked in shadows all here. We do not have an under highlight yet, but part of that is going to be our white line our white edging is going to take care of part of that. So normally I would want all this like, spiffed up, but I'm going to actually go ahead and use the side of my brush to do the line on the top. I want to do a white edge. You can, if you use the side of your brush, it's very easy. You don't want a lot of paint on it. You just you can see my brush is still holding a really good point. So that's a sign I don't have too much paint on it. I can just take the side of it and carry it along the edges. Then it gets a little dicey where you're doing here. You have to actually paint it on. It's a little harder. Uh-oh. Let me see what Paw's got, guys. I have to see what the papa has. Make sure she's not eating something bad. 1 second. Hey, Paw, what you chewing on? It better not be a slipper. It better not. Are you good? You being a good girl? Oh, you are being a good girl. Oh, wow. You chewed that bully stick down pretty well. Huh. Do I need to get you something else? Let me give her a chew real quick, guys. Hold on. Here, Papa. I got something else special for you. Special. Mm-hmm. Wow. There we go. Now you have a couple things. Now she has a couple things to distract her. And that's good. There we go. Thanks for the patience, guys. I was trying to make sure she stays in, you know, as long as Kiki is a good girl as long as she's got a chew. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, we did, all of this was done on stream, Snibble, and all of it goes onto Reaper's YouTube after it falls off of VOD. So if you look up this guy, if you look up the genie, if you search for it on Reaper's YouTube, Reaper Miniatures YouTube, you should find the skin was, I think, the first thing we did. So you'll be able to find like exactly what colors we used and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so back to this guy. So pure white. And I probably, since I need to hand paint the lines on in the like center section, I'm going to switch to a thinner brush because my Zero Reaper, it's sharp. I probably could use it, but I do like a longer, thinner brush for this sort of thing, as you guys know. So I'm going to switch to, not the Winsor Newton. Where's my Zero? My Zero Raphael is a good one, or my Da Vinci. I don't know. Kundi could answer that question. We did the skin a long time ago, so I kind of assumed it was YouTube-y. Usually Twitch keeps VODs up for 30 days at least, I thought. About 48 hours. Okay. Nice, Quindy. So yeah, so you can find all sorts of stuff on Reaper's YouTube. I've done over 500 episodes for this show on a lot of different models. And honestly, if you wanted to kind of go through and see like the models and decide which series you wanted to watch, you could just kind of look through Reaper's episodes. Look for the last episode of a given model. The last episode of a given model is going to show you what it looked like when it was like pretty much done or almost done or done at the end of that episode. So then you can see, like, instead of looking at Grumpy Cat, like the cat folk rogue that we did on an early episode, look at it toward the end, and then you'll see the colors I did and the fur pattern. You'll be like, oh, okay, I do want to watch this one. You know, whereas some models you may be like, no, I don't really like that color scheme, or I'm not going to paint that model, so that one doesn't do as much for me. But I do talk a lot. We talk a lot about knitting, dogs, and food. But we also talk sometimes about paint chemistry, color theory, and stuff like that. Especially when I let the chat choose the colors for a model. We'll vote on stuff sometimes, and then I'll usually talk about what I'll use with those colors and why, and what I won't use with those colors, right? So I'm just taking this really thin brush, and you don't have to make the line really fine because you can always go back in with your other colors and kind of narrow it. So mostly I just want a white line that's relatively thin along the edge here. You can see how that is coming out. Let me get this. So yeah, you can see that lighter line I'm bringing in. Now I did thin my white a little bit, so it's not a super bold line. Oh, as a Twitch partner, you have to wait for 24 hours. I see. Right, got it. That's interesting. I didn't realize. It makes sense as a partner that Twitch would want you to not cross-post while people might still come and watch it on Twitch. Alrighty. I'm just waiting for Twitch to like expand like video offering, like not let essentially let you pay for additional video storage, and then say they're not going to support YouTube anymore. Like that's what I'm waiting for, since they're not, they're kind of they're opposing companies because YouTube is Google. I'm going to put this line down here. So on either side of this flat area, we will do lines. And it's also along this groove right here, which would get a highlight anyway. So when you've got a cutout, oh, I don't know. So when you've got a cutout or a groove, the bottom edge of that cutout or groove will get a white highlight. Now in this case, this bottom edge is also the edge right before the blade cuts away, so it serves two purposes. Yeah, somebody who was really into it could do a spreadsheet of all the stuff. That would be really handy, but I mean, they'd have to stay on it. I would never ask anybody to do such a thing, but I could see a dedicated fan doing it. Oh, Keeker. Yeah? Well, did you get it stuck, Keeks? Oh, she scared herself. 1 second. Keeks, do you want that in here? Did you carry it in here and now you're stuck? Here, I got it. Here you go. There. You can eat it there. I got her one of her Topple toys that has some frozen canned pumpkin in it. But she kept pushing it up against the baby gate. And every time she did, the door would swing. You know, it would bump it and the door would, and she'd be like, silly puppy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I never heard either. I always forget to put my stuff on my YouTube, like, unless it's really an episode where I feel like, hey, this needs to be preserved. Because my YouTube, I kind of like to, I've been doing more short stuff on it, but... So I'm going to go over this again. You can see I've got a really, really sharp point on this brush. It's really long and narrow. Makes it a little easier for me to do the long, thin lines, but you have to have your paint thinned enough to do it, to get it to come off on that long, narrow brush tip. So we've got that coming in now. Now, as I mentioned, on the other side of cutouts, right? So we've got these little weird cutouts here. That means the top of each of these are also going to get a white highlight, which is why I saved some room there for that highlight. These are just the edge highlights. They're not actually, I'm not actually focusing a light on anything in particular yet. They're just generalized, stylized highlights. It's very Sergio. This technique is one I learned from Sergio when he was teaching here. I do like it. I especially like it on very stylized pieces, and this model definitely is one. It's showy. Yeah, I did Slime Kitty on purpose to save it. Like, because I wanted to, because you know, and anybody who's talked to me for any length of time knows, I actually don't enjoy painting the transparent minis very much. So my purpose in putting up the Slime Kitty VOD was entirely so that, you know, I could do it once and then refer other people to it. The other one to look at, although I don't go nearly as in-depth, is the water weird that we did. I don't know that we call that a water weird because that might be non-OGL, and now OGL is weird, so who knows what we're going to do. Yeah, Slime Kitty. I painted Slime Kitty on my own stream in Inara. Rax had this done for his son, based on one of his son's sketches. And then he sent me a couple. So I painted Slime Kitty on my own channel and saved the VOD to my YouTube so that if you are painting a transparent model and you want some tips and you want to, like, really I broke it down. Like, it's almost a class. Watching the Slime Kitty is almost a class in itself if you want to paint transparents. Because I talk a lot about the pros and cons, and I'm like, look at this, notice this, yada yada, you know, when I'm really trying to instruct. So yeah, if you want to paint a transparent mini, or you've got a transparent mini you've got to paint, and you're not sure what to do with it, that one is good. Yeah, the Crystal Dragon is very, very sweet. It was just a lot of dragon. Like, that was one that I really thought I might actually, like, finish on stream, but it just did not work out. We're going to have to go through and tackle some of these upper cutouts with NMM in mind, actually. Like, I can see that I need to vary up my NMM shadows more. Because we haven't actually tackled each of these top surfaces. A complicated blade like this, you almost have to grab every single separate edge surface, like, and treat them separate. Like, I have to treat this like a separate area, this like a separate area, that like a separate area, that like a separate area. I have to paint these things in isolation as well as painting them as part of the greater thing. So far, we've just been painting these things in line with, like, the greater blade and the balance of the blade. But we also have to go up and tackle them individually and make sure that our NMM is following the rules. So, and right now, some of the NMM up here is definitely not. And that's part of why it's not looking quite shiny or metallic yet. So we got that. All right, I'm going to go down and grab that edge there. It's starting to look kind of like it might be NMM someday, but it's not there yet. We'll get there. We also need to put white lines, all the edges, even like these little bevels right here, like that one right there, we'll need a white line. So I was very disappointed. I took Kiki to the park last night. I walked down to our school, local little grade school down the block that has a park attached to it. And there were no dogs there. Like, the dog people I had met were like, oh yeah, 5 p.m. we meet and there's a play date, you know, play group. It's really informal. But nobody was there except for like 2 grumpy dogs showed up, but they were really grumpy and like did not want to play with Kiki at all. One of them just only wanted to play with its ball and would totally ignore her, and the other one would actually growl and snap. So I was like, all right. Well, that's the problem with, you know, a non-supervised play group. But I was disappointed. Kiki was frustrated. I was frustrated. So I might try it again tonight, but I would think I'm going to go earlier. And I'm just going to kind of look over to the field, and if nobody's there, I'm not even going to go close. Reds, warm purples, oranges, and yellows. I mean, I would use brown. You could use blue in Aura. If you're doing a fire figure, like, sometimes blue looks cool because it's a complementary color. But it definitely will stand out a little more because you're using a complementary color. It makes it stand out a bit more. So if you want the liner to be more naturalistic, then I would probably go with brown or rogue. And if you want more punch and you want to do a color that's totally different, you could go with blue with a lot of oranges. I've used blue before on fiery type figures. And it's, like I said, it definitely gives you a different feel. It's not going to be as natural. So ask yourself kind of what the model would be best as. You could always also, one thing I would recommend if you're trying to decide and it's hard to visualize, because sometimes it is and, you know, you're not sure. Sometimes the blue liner won't make as much of an impact as you think. So you could just choose like a foot, you know, and do 1 foot in red, blue and 1 in brown. Just do a little bit, like kind of out of the way. Oh, it's a giant bug. Yeah, you could go either way. Just, I would say choose an underside and do an experiment to see which liner you just like the look of better. It really depends on how much you're going to thin it and whether you're also going to use it for some organic shading or if it's just going to be lines. Because, of course, if you're going to blend it into stuff, then you need to kind of think. I'm going to go use the edge of my brush again, although, of course, I've got a thinner brush now, but edge of my brush again to get this bottom edge. So you can see how that makes it a little easier to get this edge very precisely. And for those who signed in late, you know Kiki had her heart monitor on. We got the results, and she is like perfectly clear. She is all zeros, which is a relief. And I'm relieved that it actually recorded, and I don't have to do it again. So yeah, so she passed her heart monitor with flying colors. All right, so and we are going to do some light and dark bands down here too. We're just not going to quite get there yet. But it's starting to look more like NMM now, isn't it? Just a little bit more. It's like every little step takes you a little bit closer. All right, so here is the dealio. if I were to take these, remember our basic rule is kind of that you've got like a highlight, then a shadow, then you blend it back up, and a highlight and a shadow, and you blend it back up for a reflected light. So up here, like there's a highlight here, but I've got light, and I only have my shadow here. I could have a shadow here, and I could kind of blend it down and make it more of a focal shadow. But I might want another shadow. So we got to make sure that things are kind of working. Let's see. On the other hand, I've got a shadow right under this, so I don't necessarily want a shadow on the other side. I think what I'm going to do is put a slight shadow just under this area. I'm going to double down on shadow in the middle here, make it darker. I don't want to make it quite as dark, but I want to make it more dramatic. I'm blending it out into the base color, which I also have been picking up on my brush. Need to add a little bit. At this point, if you're going to do some wet blending, I'd actually recommend grabbing a little more water into your paint. Make sure it doesn't glob up and get crazy on you. There, all right, that's not too bad. Hello, Ellen, doing okay? Doing some non-metallic metals on the sword blade here, trying to figure out what I want to do with this crazy blade. And I think what I'm going to do is actually blend this up. Because if I look at how he's holding the blade, because this is all, it's not just like the light's not just coming down this way, right? If he's holding the blade like this, then this part is going to catch the light because it sticks out, right? Because the light's coming down, it's kind of right here. So I think I'm going to slide the shadow a little bit more that way, and I'm going to bring up the highlight here. Cool. Yeah, what you been painting? I've been painting, this is one of 6. We do a rotation on this stream. So I do Reaper models all the time, but we do 6 different models we rotate. Oh, nice. Big one. Yeah, I like doing big stuff. Really cool. I like Overwatch, so I did a Soldier 76 statue from that game. That was a lot of work. Yeah, cool. I think statue repaints are really cool, or big models. Nice. Yeah, it's fun to paint the big stuff. Are you using an airbrush or are you doing brush? I'm going to take some of my lighter gray guys and kind of blend in the transition between the shadow and the highlight here. And I'm going to actually extend my shadow a little bit more this way. And if you hear chewing noises on stream, it's because Kiki is right behind me on the other side of the screen, just sitting there chewing her chew. So if you hear any weird noises, it's my puppy, I promise. Mainly airbrush, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good tactic to start with airbrush and then use brush for details. Cool. I don't use airbrush enough. I'm very much, I enjoy brush painting, so I have to push myself to get the airbrush out. Most of the time I'm painting small, on this stream it's small stuff, so although this guy is a little bigger, but here I don't need an airbrush as much. Oh yeah, I like the cell shading style. We see a few people do that. I've been wanting to play around with it a little because I like the style in the Borderlands games, so I kind of want to paint a model like that. I thought about getting one of the Borderlands 3 statues to paint that way. But all these big projects, I've got so many projects on my board already that it's like all these things that feel like, well, it'd be a great idea. I'd pick it up and then I wouldn't touch it for like 2 years because I'm booked. So extended the black, but extended it too far now. Like part of me wanted it there. And this is honestly, like guys, sometimes I have to mess around. When it's a really complicated surface like this, sometimes I have to mess around and just see what looks right. Now I'm going to put a band in the middle. And I'm liking that better. So when you've got a big long shadow or a big long highlight, break it up if you're doing a big NMM piece like this. I use my light gray for this. Oh, now I've got a squeaky puppy who's like bored again. Right, first paint after. Yes, for right now, Turgeon, that is the unfortunate reality. It's like no painting unless I'm on stream or doing my Patreon stuff. Darken this just a little bit. Yeah, prioritization. Like being able to prioritize is super important in my life lately. Between the puppy and the husband. Still a relatively new husband, right? We've only been married for like 3 months. So I really don't want to neglect him. Right, Papa? And then my books. Yeah. Yeah, hi, Papa. Yeah, I named you. You are a distraction and definitely something that takes time. Yes, a good girl. You're a good girl. No, you don't. You're not going to be a good girl if you go under my desk, you silly girl. She's just so curious. She wants to investigate everything. Curious dog. Curious George. If she had like a mobile, like prehensile tail and like opposable thumbs, the world would be scared of Kiki. Happily, she's just a puppy. So we don't have to worry that much. So I'm going to bring in just a little bit of white down there. And just kind of fading it in using thinner paints. You don't have to be perfect here. You just got to, get it relatively smooth. You could always glaze to make it perfect. Like glazing is really the key to perfect blends. Like you can get close. Especially it'll look perfect like on camera or from a distance, but hey Grumpy. Lots of new people. I haven't seen you guys. Painting is good. Hopefully it makes you a little less grumpy. Unless, of course, you're having a bad paint day. Then it's probably more grumpy, right? I've had those days. Ah, dear me. But yes, there's so many paint projects I want to work on. And I know, I can sense that I'm getting close to like a frustration point where I'm going to have to like just stop and make myself finish some stuff. Because lately I've been getting models like close and then I've been getting distracted. And there will be a point where I will get very frustrated with myself about that. Maybe some of you guys have run into that as well. But I'll do it, but I can only do it up to a point. I mean, I can do it if I put away the models that I've kind of fallen off of, but if I leave them sitting here staring at me, then I'll get very frustrated with myself, and eventually I will just say, screw it, I've got to finish this. Just generally grumpy? Good. That's fine. We're okay with grumps here. I have those days. Yeah, you need a cane so you can shake it at kids on your lawn, right? All right, I'm going to take my liner, my gray liner, and actually paint in the groove here, because there's a deep groove. And it's time to make this much darker. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, sports injuries are rough. That's when my brother like stopped playing football in like school. He was like he switched to volleyball from football because he I think he hurt I think it was his knee. But he had like one injury that wasn't terribly bad but could have been a lot worse, and he's like, "You know what? I'm switching to golf and volleyball." So he's probably a lot more functional now in his 40s than than he would have been had he continued in football, especially if he'd gone into it in college, I suspect. He did volleyball. That's his favorite, I think. That and golf. Oh yeah, roller derby. Whoa. Yeah, that can be hard on you, I've heard. Sports are bad for your health, yep. Hi, Glumina fan. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people talking in chat that I've never seen before. Welcome, everybody. If you're new to my stream, I'm Anne. I worked for Reaper Miniatures at their headquarters in Denton, Texas for 17 years before I met this guy and moved out to the West Coast, and now we're married. But I'm still working for Reaper part-time, doing this stream every weekday morning. We have a 6-model rotation, so we do a whole bunch of things. We're working on 2 big ones right now, and then a bunch we just started. So, like Fishy is the other. These 2 are from the same box set, Air and Water. So we'll be doing like a lot of NMM copper on Fishy, and also a lot of freehand. And we're working on a lot of just general Reaper models. So one of them we've been working on is our Eileen. She's a cleric, and we've been doing the technique where you start with a pink and white and then do yellow over the top. So it gives you kind of this dawn effect that's really cool. I try to do a lot of different techniques on the models that we paint so that you get a pretty large survey of stuff. These are the wings. We're working on a Sophie the Succubus, and so I was painting her wings over the last few streams of her. So yeah, that's what we do here. I was staff painter with Reaper for several years, and then my job after that was actually I created the Reaper Master Series paint line, and I mixed almost every batch for the next 15 years after that. So oh, good, Grumpy Man. Yeah. Yeah, these are from the Scion, the Elemental Scions, Scions set from Reaper. So they're really cool. I like the genie and the fish guy, so I decided to paint those 2. There's also an earth and a fire. Reaper has an Instagram, but I don't know, Quindy, do we show a lot of painted stuff on there? I personally have an Instagram, because I have my own Patreon and stuff now that I'm not full-time for Reaper, so that is... Quindy's going to have it, but Painting Big is my moniker that I use on Instagram. So if you search for Painting Big on Instagram, you can see a lot of my work in progress stuff for myself, and also a few of the models I painted for Reaper that I really liked. And then I think that's pretty much you can also go, if you want more finished stuff, my website needs updating, but it's also paintingbig.net. Yeah, so you'll see, if you go there, you can see my Soldier 76 statue that I painted and other stuff. So all the links, there we go. So there we go. I'm on YouTube. I did a series on kind of fundamental techniques for starting mini painting. I'm still working on it. I got interrupted a bit. But yeah, but it's got a good 7 or 8 videos in it. So it's there as well. And of course I do this stream every day, and all of this is on Reaper's YouTube. 500 episodes of crazy me talking. And yeah, so I'm around. But yeah, that's my Insta. I should really pop some more stuff up on Insta because I actually like a lot of what I've been working on lately. So all the links, funny red links. Yeah, Grumpy, I've been painting professionally since, let me think. It's been a long time. I want to say I've been painting professionally for 25 years, as in selling my stuff various places since then. And I won my first national level competition and international level competition in 2002. And then I started working for Reaper and took a lot of time off. And I didn't win another trophy for 20 years until last year when I won a Privateer Press Grandmaster and Best in Show here at our Kubla Khan convention out here in California. Yeah, I lived had a normal job up until there was just a point I had a job I really loved, working for the relay for the hearing and speech impaired, where you essentially read off the teletype so that deaf and hearing impaired people can talk, can use the phone, which now is probably There's probably like voice software that does a better job, I guess. I don't know. But I really loved that job, but then I got downsized from it because I was a lesser supervisor, a newer supervisor. So then I had to go to work, and I had a lot of finance jobs because my dad was an accountant, so I worked at Equifax for a while. That was interesting. But then I decided I really didn't want to do corporate America anymore, so I took a deep breath and moved out to the East Coast and started working part-time for Games Workshop just in their office and started painting for a living. Made a horrible hash of it because at that point I just didn't know how to be a freelancer. But I learned a lot. So when I broke up with the guy out there and moved back home, I was casting around and got invited, thanks to my friend Jennifer Haley, got invited down to Reaper for their first ever artist conference. And after that weekend, Ed and Ron, who is still the art director and probably a lot more now at Reaper, and Ed, who was our CEO, who passed away just over Thanksgiving last year, they offered me a job. So it was quite an odyssey. I used to have a quote unquote real job, but I've always sought not to. So yeah, it is kind of living the dream. I worked for Reaper, as I said, in-house in their Denton headquarters for 17 years, and then some things happened in my life, and I ended up moving out here to be with David, who I met through ReaperCon and through painting miniatures. So I'm married to another top-level miniature painter who has Crystal Brush Awards and things like that. So yeah, it's all mini painting here. But yeah. So it's been an interesting road. Like, my dad is still kind of frustrated with it. He always just wanted to see me, like, have a normal job, I guess. But yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm doing okay, so it's what it is. Yes, the job was offered earlier, Twisted Oma, but my actual work anniversary of the day I started work at Reaper was April Fool's Day, yes. It's my best work anniversary ever. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing you can do if you want to, like, be this kind of person, is really cool that you're a mental health nurse, by the way. But, I mean, what I did is essentially I painted minis for eBay. These days, people paint more for, I think it's more Etsy shops that have painted minis for sale. But back in the day when I started, it was up on eBay. And I painted on eBay, and painting models for sale essentially kind of made me practice a lot of different things and paint a lot of different minis. And it gave me a sense of the market and also gave me a sense of how much my work was worth. And so from there, I was able to like take on commissions, and I kind of learned that commission work was really rocky for me. It's hard for me. I paint slow. It's hard for me to make a living that sort of way. And it's also like it's a little bit more draining for me to be working on projects like that than working on my own projects, obviously, right? So then I went to work for Reaper, and then I discovered Patreon. So I had a little bit of a following like before I worked for Reaper, but I would say that Reaper definitely helped people like follow me. It's a little bit of a hard road to stand out. If you want to make like a living painting and you're fast, then doing armies and commissions is kind of the way to do it if you're fast. If you're more of a slow painter like me, then I'd say that getting good and doing fewer models but better quality for me, was a better road. But like I said, the industry has changed a lot since I started. I think, though, that commissions will always be where is some money to be made in this hobby, because you will always have people who love the hobby who love miniatures and painted ones, but they don't have time to paint. People who have the money to pay for painted miniatures, but not the time to paint them themselves. So I think, that's one road that I tried. But I am somebody who loves to teach. So if you love to teach, then you could also take the road of, Patreon, YouTube, things like that. It does take a while to build an audience, just like with anything. So that, again, it's not a fast thing. You kind of have to look at this, if you're trying to do miniatures, it makes an excellent side gig. Miniatures make an excellent side gig, but to make them a real job, to make them a job that can support you, takes a lot of patience. Patience in building and effort. And everybody, just like any freelancer, and I'm also a writer, so I see these parallels between painting and writing all the time. But everybody's road is different when you're dealing with the creative arts. Like, what will work for one person won't work for another, just because you're not the same person, and you know you're going to do things differently. So probably the best thing, really, that I've found is to look at your, like, what strengths you personally have as a person. Like, what, you know, are you? I've given these kind of examples before because I'm into personality tests, and I recently took the Clifton Strengths test, which I love it so much, and kind of utilizing some of that to kind of tell me where my strengths are, where to focus my efforts. So, like, if you're naturally a good communicator and you're good on camera, then YouTube is really good for you, right? But if you're a communicator and you're not good on camera, then maybe PDFs on Patreon would be better for you. That stuff. Yep, have fun, Crowley. Yeah, YouTube I think has a YouTube Live. I'm pretty sure because I think some of my favorite like vidcasts over there are recorded live on YouTube. I'm not sure which is the better market these days for streaming. I mean, Twitch has been in the streaming market for longer, but YouTube has like I think a very good quality. So that's true. Bill's got a point. If you're not good on camera, you can become good on camera, right? Many people can anyway. Not everybody, but and also like probably the biggest thing is like do what you like. Like as far as like self-promotion and when you're trying to build your name, experiment with a lot of different social media and platforms and things to do. But don't make yourself do something that you hate. Like, I kind of learned that I don't enjoy Instagram. I don't go there naturally. I had to make myself go there. I had to put a reminder on my phone to post regularly on it. It's not a social media platform that I'm like super into. And so it wasn't really for me. So, but I love my Patreon and I really enjoy YouTube. So, and I really enjoy Twitch. So those were better, I'd say, outlets as far as like getting. So now I'm like doing this kind of little waiver thing. So I could have just done white highlight in the little middle, and instead I decided to do a couple to break it up. Yeah, like dragging your other significant other into your hobby can be a great thing. But, sometimes they're just not into it and you don't want to push things, but I always was getting thank yous. I did a video, miniature painting how-to video for Dark Sword miniatures years and years ago. Grumpy cat, haha, Grumpy. And one of the, I kept getting kind of fan mail from it, like Jim kept, the head of Dark Sword, from guys who said that their significant others had actually shown interest in painting after they walked in while they were watching it and went, "What's this?" So, simply because like I'm a female and I'm painting at high level, right? I'm representing a company. So with miniature painting, especially like overseas, I find this miniature painting is very much a guy hobby. Not so much in America where there are a lot of women, but it can come off as a guy hobby, right? And so a lot of women just don't even look at it. Like they're like, "Oh, that stuff, that's your stuff." Whatever. So what a lot of girls here in, I think here in America, like sometimes may not realize right away is that, actually some of the best mini painters in America are women. So it's, overseas it's harder. There's just not really, I don't know if it's just not encouraged or maybe there hasn't been a standout woman who's really stood up and become a top name over there. Unlike here in the States where we've had a lot of women kind of step up and get visible. Oh, no big deal. Was not your GM. Yeah. When you're doing the same thing for your job and your side gig butts, it definitely can get hard. Plus, if you're freelance programming, and I speak from experience as somebody who is who also is on the board of a nonprofit who has been working with freelance programmers, often you're going to be asked to code to help fix the code on other people's stuff, which I hear from my my husband is just agonizing sometimes. So yeah. So one of the things, you know, with encouraging your significant other, female significant other, if you are in fact have a female significant other, is just letting them know that, yeah, some of the best mini painters in the world are women. We have that perfectionistic, detail-oriented thing down, many of us. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shadow here again, a little bit of back and forth. And this is all just blending work right now and just correction work on the top here. But yeah, I'd say right now it's very easy to make mini painting your side gig. And that's where you want to start. If you're really interested, if you want to try it out and you're like, you know what, it would be really cool to make some, to really be able to just do this. It also, of course, it depends on how much money you need to live, right? If you've got a mortgage, if you've got kids, and you're dependent, you know, if you've got loans or other debt, you know, then probably not. When I started my Patreon, I had just become debt-free for the first time in 20 years or so, and I'd worked hard at it. So that essentially freed me up to not need as much money every month. So that's part of it, right? Is you got to look at your expenses. If you're a frugal liver, then you'll be better off. But yeah, if you are carrying other stuff, but you can still do it as a side gig, and you know, after doing it as a side gig for, you know, the next 2 or 5 years, you never know, maybe your stuff takes off and you can, you know, devote more and more time to it. If you have a flexible job where you can kind of lower the number of hours on that job and pick up more hours, you know, put more hours into your creative side work, then that also works. I mean, that's essentially what I'm doing here, right? Is I'm still working part-time for Reaper. I work every day during the week, but all the rest of my time is Patreon writing and all that other stuff. Some coaching, some doing that stuff. Yeah, HM, exactly. That's the problem. Yeah, is that's a thing for sure, is like making sure you get good comments on your programs to guide somebody else, because you're not going to be always there with it, right? I mean, it's not really, though, Thormel. Like, you don't hear the criticism. Like, if somebody... The great thing about eBay and Etsy is that you're not putting it up and then getting commentary on it, really. You're putting it up, and it either sells or it doesn't. So the commentary is entirely in your head. And so what I found always is that it was empowering, because when my work did sell, it was like, hey, somebody thought my mini was actually worth spending their hard-earned money on. And so I actually found that I loved working on eBay because it was regular little, endorphin boosts. Because every time a mini sold, even if it didn't sell for a ton, they still, like, somebody bought my model. Somebody thought my model was worth something. So yeah, so it's yeah, that's rare. That's interesting, but yeah, that Insta people are starting to use Insta that way. I found that Insta was a great tool for like just keeping in touch with the community, but was not a great tool for, like, it didn't convert to my Patreon. But it would be interesting if people started like essentially using Insta as a shopping point for commissions. That could be interesting. That changes the game a little. Everything's always changing. You just got to adapt. Like, it's true in every creative field where you've got a lot of people doing, you know, trying to get an edge, trying to stand out. So we're just doing the shadow here, and then we're up to a highlight here. So again, we got a highlight, and we got a shadow, and then we're up to another highlight over here. So things move in waves. And I can bring this up a little bit more. And now we're starting to look like real NMM. Oh, no problem. You can paint while listening. That's the point. I expect people to be doing that. But yeah, anytime you have any questions about the kind of the business side, just feel free to come on over here and ask. I actually enjoy talking about the business side. It's like, because it's so varied and so many things work and so many things don't, but some things that don't work for one person will work for another one, you know? But it is relatively easy to make a decent side gig money for mini painting if you're willing to do the Etsy or the eBay or whatever the latest platform of choice is. Chances are you will get less money selling stuff on those platforms and more from essentially putting together a stable of commission buyers, people who buy your work, like it, ask you if you do commissions, and then you can usually charge a little bit more for a commission than you might get on your store if they're. Yeah, see, Thormel, when you don't really have a lot of belief in yourself, and I didn't when I first started out, even having somebody actually just pay money for a model you painted is like huge, like, wow, that's so cool. You know, hey, yeah, I can do this, you know. And then it's just, you know, slowly kind of working up your prices, figuring out where your price point intersects with the amount of work that you want to do on a model that you sell. Like how many hours you're putting in versus how much you're getting, and where are you happy, where's your sweet spot, where are your customers happy, that sort of thing. And when it's just a side gig, it's relatively, I mean, the accounting isn't really difficult. You do need to pay like self-employment tax on it and, you know, regular tax on it, but yeah. Sometimes, you know, there are people who gravitate to selling and there are people who don't. I gravitated toward it. I really got into the mind, essentially, when I started painting something that I was not going to keep it. And to this day, I still do that. To this day, I finish the model and then I'm like, don't want to keep this one. But I always plan not to. I always plan to sell it because it's so ingrained for me from when I was freelancing that nothing was to be kept. In contrast, my husband has had a very good job for all of his like mini painting career, where he's been at the top end of things, and so he's never had to sell anything. So he never has. He's just kept the work that he does. So he has the opposite, where he never thinks about selling his stuff. And if somebody asks him, you can see the hesitation in him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty low key there, Thormel, right? Exactly. So, but still, doesn't that feel good? Like that your friends actually like your minis enough that they want to own them, and it's the same thing on Etsy. It's not like you're putting it up like on like Cool Mini where people are going to comment on it, right? Yeah, you're just pretty much just putting it up there, and if somebody wants it, they'll pay for it. All right, so now I've got to figure out, oh, I forgot to do the dark lining in that one section. Need to do that. One moment. We're about at the end of the stream, so I'm probably not going to be able to tackle the bottom edge this time, but I'm going to at least line in this. But our next step is to take all this cool, like, kind of wavy light and dark stuff and figure out how to apply it to the shadow side. It'll be a lot more understated on the shadow side because the highlights will never be as high from reflected light. Yeah, exactly, right? Beer money. So if you do decide to do Etsy, like just think of it that way. Think of it like, oh, put my stuff out there and put my shingle out and see if anybody's interested. And if it sells, I get some extra beer money, right? And if it doesn't sell, I just pay a little bit more. And I mean, if it doesn't sell, then awesome. You can spend. It means nobody's found you yet, probably. And you can just spend some time building up like an inventory, right? Like having a lot of selection, which if you put up a piece and it sells right away, you're like, oh, oops, you know, like now I have nothing on my store. So this is a Bones Black model, Grumpy, so it actually did have a lot of cleanup, and there's even a mold line I still spotted that I think I missed. So I did have to go through and kind of carve away at some stuff here in this section, and I use a knife for most of it on Bones Black. Bones USA also is pretty much is all knife work. I do have a nail Dremel that works for taking mold lines off, sometimes at Bones USA and off of resin and metal. But yeah, this stuff does have a lot. The Bones USA stuff from Reaper is a lot cleaner. It's a different process and different material. So when like some of these models, these other models that we're working on stream, like Sophie here, who's the lady who gets the wings on her back, she is really clean. Her detail is super clean. There was very few mold lines. So really, really clean model. So this Bones USA plastic is Sciocast, and it almost is crisp like a resin model. So yeah, but these big guys, like Big Genie here, yeah, he had a lot of cleanup. Yeah, I'd say go for the Bones USA, go for the Dungeon Dwellers line, or the what is it? Reaper Legends, I think. Reaper Legends or Dungeon Dwellers. Those are both the Bones USA material. Yes. Yeah, it can get hard to get found, right? Yes, that's true. Getting good reviews, like proof of, yeah. And it's the same thing with writing, right? I'm going to have to figure out, like, I'm going to have to kind of be patient and wait for people to find me and leave me reviews on my book, because I don't have a mailing list yet or any fans, except for you guys. If some of you guys want to read my book, that's awesome. But I wouldn't ask for it. Like, to be a if you want to do it kind of thing. All right, so we've got that, and I need to block in that a little darker. And then we're good. We've gone about quarter after. So I will block in this dark, and then we'll come back to this next time and do this part. And the front will be faster because the front is only you've got a big shadow right behind his head, so you really block that in shadow for the most part, and then we only have to do the part that sticks out. But yeah, getting social proof with those reviews and things, it's just, I think the thing to do is just to realize it's not a fast game at the beginning. Is you should go into it and just have fun. Don't expect it to make you a fortune. That goes for writing or painting, any creative pursuit. You need to get found. You need to put out some good work. You need to give it time. And sometimes you need to learn how to do a little bit of marketing. It depends on what you're doing, and marketing can be as simple as just posting regularly on a miniatures Discord or forum and talking a lot and helping people so that they get to know who you are, and then they get curious about what you do. You never want to go out there and say buy my stuff, but you always you want to be in the painting community. Our community is not all that big, and if you're a jerk, word will get around that you're a jerk. So the best thing you can do is to be present in the community and helpful. And then people might get curious about your Etsy store and stuff like that. They might go take a look. They might be impressed, and then maybe you get a fan. But it's an organic thing. It's nothing you can force. A lot of people go in to creative stuff thinking they can force it somehow, and with some few exceptions who maybe get lucky with advertising, it's not really that way. Yay, Quindy, yay! But yeah, with my books, I'm totally going in knowing nobody's going to know who the heck I am. And it's just good to get them out there and then just get working on the next. If people read them and like them, then awesome. But I don't expect to make any money from it. Not for a long time. Not, and only if I keep working at it. Just because of my Patreon took, at least 2 years to get to the point where it is kind of now. All right, I think we're good, guys. I think we're good. We're going to put a little highlight here. Wherever you've got kind of something that cuts in and then sticks out. So up here, you have this cut that we just lined, and then the next little bit here, the flat piece, sticks out. So that upper edge gets a highlight. Down here in this hole, it drops away, right? And then the next edge sticks out. And so it's the same thing. This hole gets treated the same as this groove. Is like on the other side of that groove, you get a highlight. Or on the other side of the hole from the light source, you get a highlight. So that's the dealio. Okie dokie, so tomorrow we are back to our crazy necromancer lady, who's looking very purple and black right now. We're doing a black-red on her dress, and I went with more of that magenta, the Succubus Kiss kind of orchid purple kind of weirdness on the inside there. So she's maybe she's not looking quite as black as I wanted, but we're working on it. We've got the bluish indigo here and here, and yeah, we're progressing on her with her snazzy hair. Maybe we'll work in some bone this time. I want to get a lot of her other stuff kind of filled in. Just so I've got a picture of the light and dark and how it works. Yeah, our goth necromancer, yeah, that's who we're working on. So I have a picture kind of how things are starting to look. That's kind of what I wanted to do. So yeah, so maybe we would do some bone and parchment. We'll probably be using the same kind of colors for both of them, and then we'll have to figure out some other stuff. So yay, yay. So yeah, same bat time, same bat channel, folks. Yeah, Quindy loves the goth girl. The only thing that can make this model better, in Quindy's opinion, I'm betting, would be if it had a cat or if she was a cat girl, goth girl. Alrighty, folks. Come on, Quindy, you know. I knew it. I was waiting for it. I'm like, and wait for it? Yes. All right, folks. I hope you had a good time. I did. I got to go take a Keekster for her walk. Then I got to get my butt in gear. So I hope you all have a lovely day. And yeah, hop on back tomorrow if you have the time and inclination. Grumpy Man, it was nice to meet you. And the other new people also, Bolt and the others. It was good to meet all of you. Hope you come back. I'm here pretty much every weekday unless there's holidays or some weirdness like a vacation. So not going to raid because Rhonda should be on in 20-25 minutes. Yeah, I went late today. I'm sorry. Say hi to Rhonda. And I will talk to you later. Bye, guys.